All right, guys, this is Tim Lauer, the Tim Lauer Podcast, coming to you live from Island Time Studios. Today we got a special guest, owner of Local IT, Michael Beauchamp. Welcome to the show, Michael.
Tim, it's great to be here.
Awesome. So let's jump right into it. Tell us a little bit about who you are and then get into your company a little bit.
Okay, well, it's a long story. I'll try to make it as brief as possible. We get into some more interesting stuff. So I'm a native in Baldwin County. My family has been here for generations. Currently live in Elberta, Alabama. Was raised in Orange Beach, Alabama, so very familiar with the local area. Started my company as another company about 12 years ago. Had teamed up with John Townsend at Technical Services Incorporated, or TSI, over in Orange Beach. What he wanted to do was start an IT department inside of his electrical engineering company for diversification, as you can imagine. And his company kept bumping up against IT problems, and he had a bunch of more wrench turners than he had IT guys. And so I'd done a job for him as a contract labor, and we hit it off, had a great time, and decided that we would start an IT department. But I'd asked John at that point, or said to John, I really want to have some ownership capital in this, and I would like to start an IT company facing the world. He said, that sounds great. How about this? I don't know how ownership works right now. It's too complicated for our corporate structure, but you'll own it one day. As a man of his word, about 2 years ago, me and two other partners purchased the IT department of TSI, rebranded, moved to Foley, and now we're Local IT.
Nice.
So Local IT is just a brief little, just kind of a global overview, because I'm certain we'll go back and forth on this. We're a managed service provider. The shortest way to understand that, because managed service provider doesn't necessarily make any sense to anybody, is if you need an outsourced IT department, or you need to supplement your IT department, you call someone like Local IT, preferably you call us.
Gotcha. Nice. And let me ask you this: for a lot of our audience is entrepreneurs. What's it like to start your own business, run your own business? Are there times where it's harder, it's easier, it makes your stomach turn a little bit?
Yeah, all of the above. So I would say, I had a lot of mentors that I talked to along the way, all the way from the early days with John. John was a great mentor. Number one, I'd say get good mentors. And they don't have to be official. I think, Tim, me and you have started to develop a relationship. I look at, kind of peer mentors is something I use. So I try to surround myself with good people. I try to seek out, so my customers, a lot of my higher end customers will become good mentors. Try to get into some groups. The chamber is obviously great, but really it's those relationships that you can build more as a one-on-one, in my experience. So that was a good foundation for me, because then I'm able to have some candid conversations with men who have done it longer than me, or women who have done it longer than me. So that's an aspect of it. And you might have to refresh me on a couple of the highlights. But the other thing that many of my mentors said is, whatever you do, don't partner with anybody. Be your own thing. And then I partnered with two guys.
Okay.
And we're all equal. And so let me kind of talk about two parts of that. Is I can tell you this: partnership is the worst thing in the world. Don't ever do it. I want to fire my partners every other day. But it's the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
And that's what's really kind of an amazing attribute of it, or aspect of it, is I can lean on these guys. I can say, look, when we started, you'd think, well, you were already in business 10 years. How hard is it to start a new business? It is incredibly difficult. For now, I've got 10 years of established things, licenses, insurances, all these vendors. Now everything has to be changed legally, and you have to try to be seamless with your customers to go from this established company to establish this new company. With the guys that I had on my team, and if you don't partner with someone, I would say surround yourself with a good team, is say, look, we're gonna have to work a lot of hours. We're gonna have to do a lot of stuff, and just take it task after task after task. Don't get, it's that saying I heard one of my customers on a phone call just yesterday. We were in a meeting, and they said, eat the elephant one bite at a time. And I would say, don't get discouraged. Either you're starting a new business, or you're rebranding, or you're doing something. Just keep after it. Put those tasks in every day. When something comes up, decide who's going to do it and attack it.
Yeah, I agree. And you guys are doing it the right way. You're out there with the chamber, showing up to events, making connections in the community, giving back to the community, doing those important things. And I agree with you. Relationships are a huge part of business. And what I've seen over the years is you never know where that relationship is going to turn in the future. You may have a relationship where you've met somebody that you thought, well, maybe we'll never work together, do business together, but I like hanging out with them. And then a few years later, you could be doing something big. So it's a huge part of it is the relationship. So tell me, why IT? Why did you get into IT? Is it a passion of yours? Is it something that you grew up with? Or
It's something I grew up with. My dad was always into technology. He was actually a lineman for Baldwin County EMC.
Oh, nice.
Worked his way up through the ranks, obviously through supervisor, and eventually got a desk job in Somerdale as their skater department. So he was always into technology and kind of a polymath, my dad was. And I try to be that as well. I try to kind of diversify, read a lot, study a lot, do a lot. And the reasons I got into technology is because I found out that computers had spell checkers and I was terrible at spelling. And I was like,
nice.
well, if I do computers, I'll always have a spell checker nearby. And that served me very well. So, but I enjoy technology. The more I get into technology, I enjoy it. And it's such an amazing field. I enjoy solving problems. I pride myself in being a pretty good troubleshooter. I can kind of both abstract, simplify. I can kind of zoom out and zoom in really quick on problems, and technology gives me an outlet to do that. I enjoy that a lot, and I enjoy working with other people. So I really like working with smart technology guys, because when you see the IT magic happen, you kind of get an understanding of the back end. To me, kind of seeing the magician work, kind of seeing that trick on the back, knowing how it works, to me even makes it more magical. So working with my network engineers, seeing that, working with those systems engineers and seeing that. But yeah, from my childhood, I've enjoyed technology, and then I've just saturated myself in it since.
Nice. So I know going through the years with technology, as a kid, I think I grew up on MS-DOT/configure. Like, there wasn't Windows, and you were kind of learning how to run the computer from the back end system. Then technology burst in with, Windows, different platforms, iPhones, different stuff like that. So through the years, as technology has changed and enhanced, and you being in this field, what have you seen with people that lean towards that technology? How does it help their business grow?
Well, that's a long history of computers into a good question. I guess because I enjoy kind of tagging some of that a little bit. People, let me take it apart a little bit, and hopefully we'll arrive at the end in a good spot. People say technology changes fast, and I like to point out to people it does not. Technology does not change fast at all. Now, it feels like it changes fast quite a bit, and let me unpack that a little bit.
Yeah.
So, I was raised on a little bit of an alternative computer system called Commodore Amiga. It's not important. You're saying, raised on DOS, moving over into Windows, and we don't need to go through the history of all that. And technology gets, bigger, badder, stronger, and more ubiquitous.
Yeah.
But, we have it, memory is still memory in a computer. Whether I have 512K, which I think Bill Gates was said all we'll ever need, or whether I have 16 gigs, 32 gigs of RAM in some of these high-end machines, they all still have hard drives. Now, that hard drive used to be spinning. Now that hard drive is solid state. We used to have, what do they call them now? Feature phones. You're not allowed to call them dumb phones. I guess that offends the phones in some way.
Okay.
But you have smartphones now. But we've always had phones, right?
That's right.
So I think that when people say the ubiquitousness of it kind of makes that speed seem faster. But if you kind of look, I like to dabble in philosophy. I don't do it professionally. But people don't change, and technology doesn't change a whole heck of a lot if you think about it from a people perspective. We want to communicate. We want to use tools to get our jobs done, whether that be a typewriter, with a secretary. They used to call those computers. Women used to be called the computer.
Yeah.
They were computing things, which is a whole interesting part of technology. But that kind of, I think, is leading to where the end of the answer is if you're not using the tools, and maybe this could pivot a little into the artificial intelligence that we've been talking about recently, you've got to keep your eye on the tools. Yep. And I don't know where you put the math, but Steve Jobs, showed us the first iPhone, in 2007.
Yep.
And then I would say pick a date. If every businessman didn't have a smartphone by 2000, pick a number 10, 2012, yep. You're behind. And you've got to stay up with the technology, because now your customers are going to expect it. If you can't send an SMS, if you can't send an email, if you can't in some way post to social media and let people know what you're doing, And of course, that's on kind of one of the facing side. But if you can't empower your employees to be more productive, to be more secure, to be more efficient, then you're just falling behind. So kind of a large, 10,000 foot view, I think, of that thought.
No, that's exactly right. And even from caveman days, people used and made tools. It's just a different form of a tool.
Right.
So it's not a hammer, it's not a spear, it's an iPhone or a technology that you utilize to get a result faster. So that's great. Let's kind of dive into what's going on right now with AI. So Elon Musk called for like a 6-month moratorium on AI.
Yeah.
Some people are saying it's because it's dangerous. Some people are saying because he's behind on it and he wants to catch up. What are your thoughts?
Well, nobody can know the future, of course,
Yeah.
so I'm not going to sit here and say I have some special knowledge. I listen to a lot of people. I don't know that any of them know any better than the rest of us. Elon was one of the signatures on an open letter that went out and said, pause. I think that if you look at it this way, it kind of makes it obvious why that letter was kind of silly, and it kind of makes you think about the men who participated in writing that letter and signing that letter. Sure, let's put our signatures on it, and me and you, we'll even sign it too. We're going to put a pause for 6 months. Is China going to pause?
Yeah.
Is Iran going to pause?
No, that's right.
No one's going to pause. So let's not do that. I think Elon actually there's a couple of arguments that have been made that are pretty interesting. I think Elon, I don't know if he did it on purpose, but he did it, whether it was on accident or on purpose, but Truth GPT, I think, is what he's currently branded his platform, obviously with ChatGPT being the leader right now. And one of the things that I've heard some very smart people talk about is if you want to protect yourself, and this kind of reaches back to the last question, is if you want to protect yourself against the AI, if you think it's going to be a thing, then mutually assured destruction. Get your arsenal full as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's
Learn how to utilize it.
Yeah, let me real quick say, let's not be doomsday.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about if you don't have a smartphone, then you're behind. If you don't have AI, somehow that you have some sort of understanding of it, you're behind. And that, I think we just need to be kind of a little bit more, let's not be utopian, but let's also not be doomsday, right?
Yeah.
It's probably going to be fine. The
That's
economy is
right.
going to
That's right.
recover.
That's right.
The technology is going to get better. We're going to get more empowered. So that's kind of a perspective that I like to take in business in general. I would encourage others to do as well. Is AI is a thing. Start to look at it, because otherwise you're going to get left behind, or you're going to get railroaded. It's not going to stop. That's the takeaway.
That's right. That's right. It's not going to stop. It's going to change our futures vastly, and I think for the better.
Hopefully.
And it's going to, I think create another generation of people that are skilled differently. They're going to have to learn differently to utilize it, but then also the new world that's kind of coming as a result of it.
Yeah, my brother-in-law is real big into technology as well. He's out in Alaska. He took one of my sisters and ran away, and now I never really get to see her again anymore. He's super smart as well, and he's kind of at the same spot I am, where we're trying to really wrap our heads around AI. I think we're kind of at that spot. Maybe some of us are 6-12 months behind, depending on where you put that measure. But we're just trying to kind of pay attention a little bit more. It's kind of like that ChatGPT 3 really was like, okay, now it's time to pay attention. And there's just a ton of technologies that we could talk about with AI. But one of the things he talked about, and again, it's so much of the topics we've already gone over, is I want to augment me. The AI is going to make me better.
Yep.
It's not the AI. It's this phone that I have, the computer that you have. That's not you. It's not robbing anything from you. It's empowering you. It's making you better.
That's right.
And so that's my hope, is that we say these are tools, and we need to get our hand around these tools, or get our, and figure out how they do it. And one other thing to add to that I'm encouraging my customers is I'm asking everyone questions. I don't think I've asked you this yet, but we'll kind of get in that AI conversation. I'll ask them if they're thinking about it, what they've seen in the news. And then I'll say this: if I can wave a magic wand and I can say AI can do something for you right now, we can just implement that one thing. What's your pain point? What's the thing that you would like to offload to AI to do? And some people get stymied. So let me ask you another way.
Sure.
And
this will be a
question
I've been
for
putting
you.
some thought into it.
Is if you hired an assistant, if you hired that new person, what are you training them to do first? To take off of you, or to automate in some way that you're like, now I can watch them do that, I can continue to feed them information, but what's that new person do, aka what's your AI bot doing for you?
So mine would instantly be a real estate assistant. So let's say you're buying a house, I'm working as your agent, and I go, all right, we're under contract, and then there's all these documents and all these things that need to be created right after that. Well, why couldn't AI just sit there and fill out the signature spots, given the information, get that stuff signed and uploaded, and then send me a reminder and say, hey, you still need to get this in, or deposit these earnest money check, or whatever it is,
Yep.
and just automate that.
So the other side of that is interesting is I think we're getting really close to your bot talking to my bot. And so I was like, hey, legal bot, I'm not really certain what all these documents mean that Tim sent over to me. Could you analyze this, summarize it for me, and then I feel like I'm more comfortable in being able to sign off on this.
Wow.
And yes, go ahead and sign. And then
Wow.
it talks to my signature app, and it just auto signs those and gets right back to you. So what would have taken days, maybe in less than a year from now, less than 5 years from now, certainly, is my bot talks to your bot. And I think that's what people are missing.
Yeah.
Is that there's a lot of this minutia layer that we're so
Yeah.
used to
Yeah.
dealing with, and they're like, oh, well, I don't want to call this restaurant and talk to AI. I don't want to talk to a bot. Then don't. Have your Google Assistant bot or your Siri bot call all the restaurants. Read all the reviews. It knows your taste because you fed it all this information. Have the bots talk to the bots and then summarize it back to you. And by the way, it already made a reservation.
Yeah.
And
it all does it lightning speed.
Yeah, and your real estate example
Yeah.
is just gold.
Yeah.
That's gold. That's exactly what we need to start thinking about AI tech this way, because then what does it free you to do? It frees me and you to have time to go have a beer,
Yep.
to go golf, and have a real relationship, and take all this paperwork out. Well, we're always
Yeah.
saying that.
Yeah.
Let's take the paperwork away, but you have to have it.
Yeah. And that's where technology has come, because you think about it, being an agent maybe 20 years ago probably would have drove me crazy, because then you add in the part of fax machines and carbon copies and handwritten, and you're like, oh my God. So the technology has already grown so far, but yeah. And there's always people that no matter what the technology change is, it'll be like, it'll never happen. Like we'll never go from horse and buggies to cars or whatever it is.
Yeah, there's no way to know, right? And we talked a little about that before we started recording. Is I think let's address the fear and the elephant in the room is it's going to displace jobs.
It is,
yes,
yep.
It will displace jobs,
Big time.
but it doesn't destroy jobs
creates-
the way that maybe you think.
Yeah.
It creates jobs. So sure, we're going to have to get rid of this very low end entry level position. But now we can put that person in a more powerful position.
Yep.
Because now you're doing so many more deals. You can hire that human to say, hey, I need you to manage my bots for me.
Yeah.
And so now you have empowered yourself to have the extra revenue to hire that person, or we elevate that person up. Now they need to be above the bot. And so they're able to do even more work. And I think like let me keep your example going, is the horse and buggy was done away with, but now we have so many more cars. You're never going to have enough food, enough sanitation cleanup to have everybody have horses as we do cars today.
That's right.
And I think you got to change your mind thinking it's going to destroy jobs. It's going to create jobs.
Yep.
Yes, it will destroy this job, but that job's going to go away, and it's going to create so many more jobs.
And it's going to make such a better future for our kids, because I see a lot more people taking the path of entrepreneurship because they're able to have these tools readily available to them that they didn't have years ago, where they had to go work for 20 years for a company and get a 401k and all that stuff, to where now they can create their own business out of creativity, out of innovation, and do their own thing.
Yeah, real world example. We're talking about business and such, but let me bring that back, since we're talking about entry level and you're talking about our kids. We're a homeschooling family. I have 3 kids. My oldest just turned 12, and for the last couple of years, I'm a big Google Workspace guy, big Google guy, so Google Drive, and all of my kids have Google Drive, Google accounts, and they have their Google Drive, and he writes all his papers in there, and that goes from sometimes handwritten notes, reading books. Sometimes it's typing directly. He shares it with me. I can watch him type. He can be in his office, in his room. I can be in my office, or he'll come down and we'll collaborate. It just gives us that freedom, that flexibility. But I started doing something a little bit different when ChatGPT really lit up about 6 months ago. I said, hey, let's sit down. Let's look at your paper. You have to write it yourself, 100%. But now I want you to take that. I want you to say, ChatGPT, could you help me write this? Could you rewrite it in this way? Could you change the tone? Could you, add a joke or two? And then what he's required to do is make a copy of it and then he takes that output from ChatGPT and he puts it in another document. So it's
Okay,
his original
okay.
source. And what I'm trying to do is get him to learn how to talk to the AI. Right? In the IT industry, we talk a lot about what's called Google Foo.
Yeah.
Is how well do you Google search? That's a skill. You know, my
It is,
mother
yeah.
does not Google search as well as my sysadmin. And there's a joke that we've had for years in my company is, well, what do you mean, guys? Y'all just Googling that? Sure, I Google $100 an hour better than you do. I want you to AI better.
Yeah.
And I think you had said you were using ChatGPT a little bit more. Have you found that you're getting used to talking to the AI a little bit better?
Yeah, and having the like Google and Alexa have kind of trained me a little bit to learn how to. I mean, it's really entry level stuff compared to what you're doing there, but you have to say things in a certain way
Right.
to get the output result that you want.
Yeah, and this is called prompting the AI. So that's the technical term that we just have to learn to start communicating with the AI, and you can make it better. And they're getting better. They're getting better at understanding this natural language, and we need to get better at communicating with the AI.
Yeah, I agree. Huge advantage if you jump into that kind of stuff now. Huge advantage.
Yeah.
So let's gear back towards local IT. What do you guys specialize in? So like if let's say I'm a business owner that's just getting started all the way up to one that has multiple locations and needs, what's your kind of range of business and what do you do?
Yeah, it's a great way to ask the question as well, and because we do cover that whole range or that whole spectrum. So we pride ourselves on being able to reach down to the individual business owner. So if you're just a single seat, you're a startup, then you need to get with us. You know, we've got to get that domain name locked in. People forget that domain name is the most important thing in your business. The next is getting that email properly set up. You need enterprise email. There's really only two options in this day and age. We prefer Google Workspace. Microsoft 365 is another option, but you've got to get that nailed down. You've just got to have a good platform to build from. And then once that's going, then you need a good system. You get with your IT professional, get with us about this is the laptop you need. You're going to spend some money on it.
Yeah.
Not anything scary. You spend $1,500 on a laptop with a warranty, and you're in good shape. I'm not saying you got to spend $2,000, but you don't go to Walmart. Please don't go to Best Buy.
Don't get an Acer from
It's-
Walmart.
They're just consumer grade products, and that's with anything. Maybe with the exception of printers. That's the only thing I'm going to let you buy. Out of the box stores.
Okay.
But other than that, you need if you're going to be seriously into business, and you don't have to start that first day, that first one user as a startup. But you start getting up into those users, you really got to think about your network. We all talk about, we're going to be in the cloud. Well, you know how you get to the cloud? By your network in your office. And so we focus a lot on the network. It's what some in the industry say is layer 1, layer 2, and layer 3. Basically, by that is that cable that you're plugging into the wall, that's layer 1. Those radio waves that are giving your Wi-Fi, making your Wi-Fi work, that's layer 1. If you have a company that employs a network engineer like we do, we can make sure that wireless is working. Just actually in your building, one of our customers is here. They had a single access point in an office, and they didn't realize that they were having problems when they closed the door to their office. A simple, non-solid core door,
Yeah.
and they just didn't have enough radio signal because they didn't have an IT guy there to analyze, think about that troubleshooting. Added an access point, he's super happy. Now he
Nice.
doesn't have drop Zoom calls. He doesn't have emails that take too long to send or too long to synchronize his data from his computer to the cloud. And then having a good productivity platform, whether it be Microsoft 365, again, we prefer Google Workspace. You got to have good storage and good backups.
Absolutely.
If we talk about cyber, we can get to that, but let me just go ahead and give you the answer to cyber. Good backups.
Yeah.
That is the answer to cyber is good backups, because at the end of the day, what all of these antivirus and cyber solutions are going to tell you is it's not a matter of when, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And so that data is going to get corrupted, that data is going to get ransomwared and encrypted. But if you can go back, that's your backups.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean ignore cyber, doesn't mean all that. But
No.
let me get back to the path of your question. But continuing on, having rock solid backups is an important part of what we do for businesses and what businesses need to have. So if I'm hitting the highlights of here's the things you must do, then there are other things like getting into AI. That's for fun right now. That's pay attention. But the fundamentals of business today is getting your hardware right, getting your network right, and having a team in place. We love to interact with our customers. A lot of times we'll interact by chat, by email. We don't put people through a ticketing system. We do the ticketing system. You be human. You get with us via chat, which everybody loves, or get with us by emails. And I've got a team of 4 men total right now. We're hopefully going to put on another guy here pretty soon.
Nice.
And our response time is just wicked fast.
Yep.
Because we are using these
That.
chat technologies. Sometimes it's seconds, but it's definitely less than 15 minutes.
Wow.
So having that help desk in place, that's what we do. So building you all the way through in your company, and then having that IT guy there. And the way I like to compare it that people understand is, when you have your trusted real estate agent, it makes life better. You're not just flipping through the phone book or going and finding a new guy at the chamber.
Yep.
You don't do that with you don't do that with your plumber. You don't do that with your mechanic. You don't do that with your electrician. You have people in your Rolodex,
Yep.
In your contacts that are your trusted service people. And that's what we want local IT to be, is your trusted IT service.
Awesome. No, well said. Yeah, you definitely got to have a arsenal of good contacts that you can trust that'll have your business best interest in mind.
Sure.
So, what is your guys' specialty, if you have one?
Ooh, I don't know that we have a specialty. We're very diverse, because that's kind of what a managed service provider is. It's all of the services that you're managing. So whether of all the things that I've already listed, another way to say that is what's our vertical that we're best in. The answer to that, it's funny, whenever we have vendors ask us this question, I was like, well, technically it's small to medium business, and that's that big wide vertical, but we also support a school. So is education my vertical? I also have doctor's offices. So is medical my vertical? We have all of these things. I have an architect as a customer. That's a vertical. Engineers are my vertical. So it's really hard to pin down. We don't have, it's not that I'm going to say we're a jack of all trades and a master of none. I have a lot of masters on the team.
Good.
So when I say a network engineer, that's what he does. He specializes in. We haven't talked about it yet, but cloud infrastructure. We're pretty savvy at doing things in the cloud, whether you need your servers in the cloud, whether you need to do some other sophisticated things, because maybe you have a diverse workforce or you have a mobile workforce. I've got a customer right now talking to me about a hybrid workforce. So she wants to be able to support that desk at the corporate office. She wants to be able to support that desk at home and let the users kind of have a little bit more flexibility in their schedule, which we've seen huge since COVID. And I don't want to necessarily get into name dropping my customers, because I don't necessarily have their permission to, on however large your audience is, to talk about. But we deal with some pretty big restaurant groups, well over 20 locations in one of our groups, and
nice.
that they manage about another 75 locations. In the small to medium business, a couple of customers that have those 5 and 7 locations, so we can handle multi-location.
Nice.
It's not really that difficult with the technology we have now. Everyone's going software as a service, right? We call it SaaS.
Yep.
So when you've got that good foundation of you picked Google Workspace, that's the vast majority of what you need to do. And then, whatever those specialties are that you need those tools, whether you need Adobe as your products, whether you need some ERP or CRM, these are things that we're just going to help you bolt together and manage.
Awesome. Yeah, and they do stuff as like run network cables, run, Cat 5s, Cat 6, security cameras. I don't think you mentioned that, but security cameras, real high-end, top-class security cameras. So there's a ton of stuff out there that I think anything technology related.
Yeah, the way that
you can run through them.
Yeah, exactly. And the way that we put that to our customers, like if I'm talking to the CEO or the president, and he's just like, I don't understand. I don't know what you do. I'm so confused. I said, basically, if it gets on the network, call us first.
Yeah.
We also provide phones, so that voice over IP, that phone that sits on your desk, that's real good. And as you can kind of hear, that holistic person as well. We can't capture 100% of everything. Like I can't sell you your internet. We're going to partner with like a Unity Fiber or some other internet provider. But beyond that, we can almost capture everything where you can say, look, Michael, I want to give you one check per month and I want you to handle everything. We've got a package at that level.
Nice.
Or
Nice.
We can say, Michael, I just want to call you every once in a while. Will you answer the phone? Yeah, if you just need broke fix, I'll help you with that too.
My troubleshooting extends from when the cell phones first came out, it was always take the battery out, hold the power button, wait 10 seconds, put it back in. And like I use that for everything nowadays. It's like unplug. Somebody asked me, hey, what's something? Did you try unplugging and plug it back in again? All right, let's try that.
If you don't turn it off and turn it back on again, my sysadmin's going to catch you, and he's going to make you do it before he starts troubleshooting.
That's right. How can people connect with you and your business?
You can get to us through our website. AskLocalIT.com is the best way. We have a presence on Facebook and a couple other spots where we're kind of active on, well, not as active as we want to be on LinkedIn. So you can get to us there. But primarily through our website. You can email us that way, and all of our phone numbers are posted, and we'll definitely look forward to anybody who reaches out.
Okay, cool. So this is the website. So phone number right here, contact right there. Real easy to get a hold of them. They're right here in Foley. I know this guy, Jack.
Oh my, Jack. How did this happen?
Nice. Cool. So yeah, easy to get in contact. Michael Beauchamp, thank you so much for coming out to the show today. A lot of great conversations. We probably could have honestly talked for hours about the AI stuff and everything going on. But
I'm ready for part 2.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
appreciate you coming out, man.
Thanks
Anything
so much.
you guys need, give them a call. Anything IT.
Thank you.